Once data is collected, it's necessary to look at it and analyze it. In behavior analysis, we use graphical displays and visual analysis to make clinical decisions. We do this because it is easy to see significant change, and the data that we have collected and the methods we use are easily graphed in these manners. Oftentimes, behavior is graphed in a line graph format. This is because the measurement we're seeking is a change in behavior across time. On the y-axis, you'll typically see things such as frequencies, percentages, or a different type of measurement. On the x-axis, you'll typically see the passage of time. This could be measured in different ways, such as in hours, in minutes, in days, in weeks. It just depends on what is the most important in analyzing your data. A lot of times, graphs are used for analysis, but they're also used as a graphical display of progress to parents and other relevant stakeholders. This is important to note because we do graphs in order to make clinical decisions, but we also do graphs in order to communicate those decisions. There are many parts of a graph, and all of them are very important. Note that the picture I displayed is a bar graph. This was selected only because all the parts of the graph are shown. I want to specifically draw your eye to labels. Titling your graph and labeling the x and y axis is essential when your supervisor is communicating the changes to relevant stakeholders. If these things are not noted, it will be confusing to the person who's seeing the graph. Sometimes graphs are used in scientific publications. All the parts of a graph are necessary in order for these things to be published. We will now practice graphing by hand. This is a very outdated way of graphing, but for the purposes of this training, it's necessary to give you the practice. Typically, graphs will be made in Excel or a similar spreadsheet electronically. First, I would like you to take a look at the data sheet given. In the left column, there's the date, and then there's 5 dates given. Across, there are multiple trials. The behavior is sitting for 5 minutes, and the plus signs mean that that was successful. The negative signs mean that it was not successful. Take a moment now to calculate the percentages for each day, and then turn that into a graphical display. Remember, you want to use a line graph. The only reason that a bar graph is shown is to show you the different parts of the graph that you need to include on your graph. Also note that each day needs to have a minimum of 3 data points in order to be graphed. This will be important for now, but also when you begin taking data as an RBT, you need to be sure that you run enough trials in order for that data to be analyzed. Taking very minimum data points can be difficult for analysis and sometimes will mean that that data is unable to be analyzed. Also note that very commonly we use percent independent or percent success on the y-axis. For the example given above, you will be using percent success. Take time now to handwrite a graph, remembering each part of the graph and calculating it as a line graph. We already did some graphs by hand, but it's also very important to know how to use a computer-based graphing system Typically people would use Excel, and when I've done graphing workshops in the past, people have just gotten really confused because their version of Excel might not be the same. So just for the purposes of learning how to graph, we'll just use Google Sheets because we all have a Google email. I've already logged into my email, and as you can see, there's this box here. One way you can get to Google Sheets is by clicking that box and then clicking Sheets. The other way is by going to this section here and clicking Sheets. So for example, if you wanted to click that, then you click blank. Next, you want to give it a title because it'll automatically be saving itself. So for viewing it later, you'll want to know what to find. So I can just name this Graphing Overview. I like to put the date in the far left column, and then, or you could put sessions also, because for your purposes, it's not like you saw them on different dates. And then here, I like to put the measurement I used. And you can make this sizable like that. So you can number them 1 through 4. Just for the sake of this video, I'm going to make up the data so I can show you how to do the graphing. So 10, 5. Once you have all of it entered, you'll want to select the date section and the frequency and drag it all the way down so that everything that you entered is highlighted. Then you'll want to go to Insert and Chart. If it comes up as a bar graph, you'll want to change that because we're doing it over time, so it needs to be a line graph. So you'll go to the drop down here and then click Line. If we were doing this in Excel, I would go ahead and delete all of these grid lines. It's just my preference. I don't typically like using them. But for now, it's not a big deal. Next, you'll want to click on the line itself because we're going to turn these little marks into data points. It says that right now it already has a circle, but it's not showing up. So you can just click that and then circle and it'll come up again. Another thing you'll notice, I guess I'm just being picky here, is that it goes up to 15, but also the highest data point is 15. In order to make this better graphically, you'll want to put this up to 20 or whatever measurement you saw. So see how these are going in 5 increments of 5. I just put it to the next 5 so that it's not right at the top of the graph. And that's pretty common across graphs. Another thing you'll notice is that it already has all of the labels on it, but I want to make this clearer, so you can just clarify what it was for you. Okay, so what you'll notice is that sessions is here and frequency is here, and then I put a kind of generic name. You would want to actually put the behavior that you observed here, and then I'll just delete date. There we go. So this is basically how to graph. It's a very quick overview. If you need more specifics moving forward, your supervisor will be able to help you.